In the beginning, the world was a vibrant paradise, a creation fresh from the hands of its creator, covered with life and beauty beyond imagination. Rivers meandered through lush gardens, trees raised their crowns full of countless fruits, and on the grass, amidst the breeze and golden light, the first human beings walked in perfect communion with everything around them. Their names were Adam and Eve, the first of the human lineage, unique in their consciousness and simplicity, destined to populate the earth, but also to bear the weight of a story that would resonate through generations. The story of the origin of sin. Adam was formed from the dust of the earth, and the breath of life was breathed into his nostrils. Thus, he awakened in Eden, without knowledge of pain or death, in complete harmony with himself and his surroundings. He was free and master of an unlimited paradise, where every need was met and hope flowed eternally with each dawn. But something was still missing: companionship, the reflection of himself in another being who could share the joy of creation. From a rib taken while Adam was sleeping, Eve was created. She was not simply a companion, but the perfect complement, equal in dignity, similar in essence, and bearer of the divine spark that allowed them to understand, dream, and choose. Together, they explored the mysteries of Eden, naming the animals, marveling at the scents, sounds, and the unimaginable variety of flowers and fruits. In the center of that Eden stood two unique trees, carefully protected by their mystery. One was the tree of life, which granted the gift of immortality to whoever ate from it. The other was the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, from which they had been given a clear command. You shall not eat from this tree, for on the day you eat from it, you will surely die. It was a simple but absolute prohibition, a boundary within freedom, a reminder that even in abundance, there is responsibility and respect for order. For a time, Adam and Eve enjoyed complete happiness. Their days passed in peace, without fears or anxieties, without the fog of pain or remorse. However, temptation patiently waited in the shadows, lurking in the cunning figure of the serpent. This being, more clever than all the inhabitants of Eden, found a crack in doubt and approached Eve, planting the seed of curiosity in her mind. Is it true that God has forbidden you to eat from every tree in the garden? She inquired with a soft and enveloping voice. Eve, still innocent before malice, replied that they could eat from all except one, the central tree, because they had been warned that the fruit would bring death. But the serpent, skilled in the art of seduction and deceit, twisted the words and offered a new interpretation. You will not die. On the contrary, you will be like God, knowing good and evil. At that moment, for the first time, Eva looked at the tree with a different gaze, filled with desire and eagerness to understand what seemed forbidden, and at the same time, so desirable. The fruit, once merely a part of the landscape, became a symbol of the unattainable, of one's own will, of the ability to break free from the established path. The prohibition, far from pushing away, ignited the inner flame that drives human beings to wonder what lies beyond their limits. Eva reached out her hand, took the fruit, and tasted it. In such a simple act, primordial innocence was broken. Then, she shared the fruit with Adam, who also could not resist the irrepressible impulse of discovery. At that very moment, their eyes were opened, and they knew shame, fear, and separation. They saw their nakedness, and aware of it, immediately sought to cover themselves, as if they could hide from the one who sees everything. That afternoon, upon hearing the Creator's voice walking through the garden, they hid among the trees, fearful of the judgment they knew was inevitably just. When confronted, they tried to justify their actions. Adam blamed Eve, and Eve blamed the serpent. thus inaugurating the eternal game of evasion and responsibility. But the damage was done. Disobedience had broken the direct bond between humanity and divinity, and the consequences were as vast as Eden itself. From then on, the garden would no longer be their home. They were expelled, and access to the Tree of Life was guarded by angels armed with flaming swords. Adam and Eve had to face a new world, land that would produce thorns and sweat, pain in childbirth, endless effort in the daily struggle to survive. Sin, understood not only as transgression, but as separation from the original source of all goodness and life, had made its irreversible entry into human history. However, even in the midst of punishment, a promise persisted: the hope of redemption. They were given garments, a symbol of continued mercy, and the story itself suggests the beginning of a path of return, of seeking and restoration. Eden was left behind, yes, but the longing to return, to rediscover lost innocence, and to heal the fracture of the soul was engraved in humanity's memory. The story of Adam and Eve is much more than a tale about the origin of sin. It is a profound reflection on the human condition. It speaks to us about the gift of freedom and its burden, about temptation and the fall, but also about forgiveness and the constant search for meaning. Through time, the figure of both resonates in every personal decision, in every impulse of disobedience followed by the awareness of loss and the hope for redemption. Thus, the story of Adam and Eve remains alive in each of us, reminding us that in every act of disobedience, although it brings pain and rupture, there is always a door left ajar to mercy and the possibility of starting over. The origin of sin in Eden is, after all, the great epic of humanity in its self-discovery, on the path that goes from innocence to wisdom, passing through the bitter lesson of error, but never losing the light of hope.